Chapter 1. Moonlit Wonders and Midnight Whispers. Moonlit Wonders and Midnight Whispers. The hour when daylight fades and shadows stretch long across familiar landscapes holds a particular enchantment for those willing to look beyond the ordinary. It is in these liminal moments, when the sun surrenders its throne to the moon and stars emerge like scattered diamonds across velvet, that the world transforms into something altogether different. The same backyard that hosted afternoon games becomes a realm of mystery. The tree that provided shade for summer reading now stands as a sentinel, guarding secrets whispered only in darkness. Children understand this transformation instinctively. They sense that nighttime is not merely the absence of day, but rather its own distinct universe, governed by different rules and populated by creatures that prefer moonlight to sunshine. The poems in this collection celebrate that understanding, inviting readers to rediscover the magic that unfolds when darkness falls. Consider the tale of the owl and the kitten, two unlikely companions who refuse to let nightfall signal an end to adventure. While others retreat indoors, they load a wagon with provisions, sandwiches for sustenance, a compass for direction, a song for companionship, and set out beneath a lantern's gentle glow. Their journey speaks to the courage required to venture into the unknown and the rewards that await those who do. The owl, with his wisdom accumulated through countless nights spent observing the world from high branches, brings knowledge to their expedition. The kitten, with her playful spirit and curious nature, contributes joy and spontaneity. Together, they form a perfect balance, each complementing what the other lacks. Their quest for a wedding ring might seem whimsical, but it represents something deeper, the search for commitment, for connection, for something precious enough to symbolize eternal devotion. When they encounter the plump pig in the meadow, surrounded by fireflies performing their nightly dance, the exchange that follows teaches an important lesson. The pig asks not for payment in conventional currency, but for something far more valuable: participation in celebration, a shared moment of joy expressed through movement. This generosity, this willingness to trade material goods for experiential connection, reflects a wisdom often forgotten in our hurried modern world. As the poem's narrator speaks directly to the child listener, promising to remain present until morning comes, we recognize the ultimate comfort nighttime offers, the assurance that we are not alone in darkness. Someone watches over us, someone cares whether we rest peacefully or wake from troubling dreams. This promise transforms night from something potentially frightening into a sanctuary where imagination can roam freely without fear. The second poem in this collection shifts perspective, positioning the child as observer rather than adventurer. Little One, See the World's Glow, invites young readers to engage their senses fully, to notice details adults often overlook in their haste to accomplish tasks and meet deadlines. The lantern's soft light becomes a teacher, revealing truths hidden in plain sight: ants tracing invisible highways across the earth, wind-chiming melodies only available to those who pause long enough to listen, moonlight painting familiar objects in silver. This heightened awareness represents a form of meditation, a practice of mindfulness that grounds us in the present moment. When the child reaches out to touch the moon's silver hue, the gesture symbolizes humanity's eternal impulse toward the unreachable, our refusal to accept limitations, our determination to explore beyond boundaries. The butterflies dancing in twilight's embrace serve as guides, demonstrating how grace and beauty can coexist with fragility and brief lifespans. The question, "What is blue?" opens philosophical territory children navigate with remarkable sophistication. They understand that colors carry meanings beyond their wavelengths, that blue can represent both the vastness of sky and the intimacy of a berry's skin, both the freedom of a kite's flight and the tranquility of a lake's surface. This multiplicity, this refusal to accept single definitions, reflects the complexity of human experience and the inadequacy of language to capture it fully. When the poem turns to defining home, it eschews physical descriptions, no mention of walls or roofs, streets or house numbers. Instead, home emerges as something felt rather than seen, a lullaby's thread connecting parent to child across years and distances, a blanket's soft spread offering security and warmth, dreams and stories humming their slow, steady rhythms. This understanding transcends geography, acknowledging that home is wherever we feel safe enough to be vulnerable, wherever love surrounds us like a protective barrier against the world's harshness. The progression through these opening poems follows a deliberate arc. We begin with adventure, the owl and kitten's nighttime expedition, then transition to contemplation with the little one observing the world's glow. This movement from external action to internal reflection mirrors the natural rhythm of childhood itself, alternating between energetic exploration and quiet processing of accumulated experiences. Yet the poem doesn't advocate for endless play without rest. As crickets begin their evening chorus and stars climb into position, it gently guides the transition from activity to repose. The suggestion to swap play for whispers acknowledges that bedtime need not be an abrupt ending, but rather a shift in the type of engagement. Quiet conversation before sleep serves important purposes, processing the day's events, expressing concerns or excitement, strengthening bonds between parent and child. Handy Dandy Jack's sweet sprint celebrates both movement and generosity. Jack's journey to town and back again, initially motivated by his own desires for sweets, transforms into something more meaningful when he begins sharing his treasures. The plum given to his sparrow friend, the candy hidden from marauding ants, these small acts of consideration reveal character development. Jack learns that pleasure multiplies when shared, that hoarding diminishes joy while generosity expands it. The grocer's bell ringing to welcome Jack's arrival suggests community acceptance and affection. In this neighborhood, children are not nuisances to be tolerated, but valued members whose presence brings light and energy. The grocer participates in Jack's happiness, offering jars of jam and lemon tins that will extend his pleasure beyond the immediate moment. This intergenerational connection, elder to young, represents the transmission of values and the strengthening of social fabric. When twilight arrives and Jack whispers his readiness for bed, the poem validates listening to our bodies, signals. Exhaustion is not weakness but rather the natural consequence of a day fully lived. Acknowledging our need for rest demonstrates self-awareness and wisdom. Jack's recognition that he has had enough of sweets, of activity, of stimulation, shows maturity beyond his years. He understands that restoration precedes renewal, that tomorrow's adventures require tonight's sleep. Up the Hill Through the Day introduces themes of work and responsibility alongside rest and play. The farmer tending fertile ground, guiding the ox, holding the plow. These images connect young readers to humanity's agricultural heritage and the literal groundwork that supports their lives. Food does not magically appear in grocery stores. It begins with seeds sown into soil, tended through seasons, harvested by hands that know both blisters and satisfaction. The parallel drawn between farming and childhood acknowledges that everyone, regardless of age, contributes something valuable. Children may not plow fields, but they plant different kinds of seeds, ideas, creativity, questions that challenge assumptions, and open new possibilities. The instruction to sow some seeds and tend to others encourages balanced engagement, creating new projects while maintaining existing commitments, starting fresh initiatives while honoring ongoing responsibilities. Under the Willow's Whisper returns readers to the natural world, cataloging the creatures that share our environment. Squirrels with alert noses, jays chattering territorial claims, rabbits hopping through hidden trails. Each animal appears engaged in its own essential business, following patterns established through countless generations. Their activity suggests that purpose exists independent of human observation or approval. The world continues its intricate dance whether or not we pause to watch. The raccoon wearing a hat made of leaves injects whimsy into what might otherwise be straightforward nature documentation. This detail reminds us that observation requires imagination to be fully satisfying. We see not merely what is, but what could be, finding stories and personalities in animal behavior. The ducks swimming side by side evoke companionship and contentment. The frogs humming their clear, low tunes become musicians performing concerts for those attentive enough to listen. The path leading beyond mushrooms and bamboo lines toward adventures unknown represents possibility itself. Every trail holds potential for discovery. Every unexplored territory promises revelation. The poem's insistence that no magic is required, only wonder, democratizes enchantment. Extraordinary experiences need not involve supernatural intervention. They emerge naturally when we engage the world with curiosity and openness. The best stories, we learn, already exist all around us, waiting in grass and breeze and sky. The night knowledge knocked positions learning as an adventure equal to any physical expedition. When the voice carried by wind invites the child to play, the game that unfolds involves seeking reasons, methods, and names, the fundamental building blocks of understanding. This personification of knowledge as an active participant rather than passive content waiting to be absorbed reframes education as collaborative rather than hierarchical. The progression from the foggy park gates to the library's open books traces learning's geography. Discovery happens everywhere, in outdoor spaces where fireflies demonstrate bioluminescence, in indoor repositories where accumulated human wisdom awaits consultation. The library's whispered clues suggest that answers often come indirectly, requiring interpretation and synthesis, rather than straightforward presentation. Learning to ask productive questions matters as much as finding correct answers. The metaphor comparing learning to puzzle solving under stars captures both challenge and beauty. Each piece of knowledge connects to others, forming patterns that eventually reveal larger pictures. The satisfaction of fitting disparate information into coherent frameworks rivals any entertainment. Hot stories popping like popcorn evoke excitement and abundance. There's always more to discover, always another fascinating topic to explore. When the child's brain buzzes like a beehive's dance, the simile captures both the activity and productivity of engaged thinking. Ideas pollinate each other, creating new combinations and innovations. The what-if scenarios represent imagination's crucial role in learning. We understand not only what is, but also what might be, envisioning alternatives and possibilities. This speculative thinking drives innovation and progress. The poem's final instruction to grab a magnifying glass, a notebook, and a friend provides practical guidance for young learners. The magnifying glass represents close observation and attention to detail. The notebook acknowledges that documenting discoveries helps consolidate learning and creates records for future reference. The friend recognizes that collaborative learning enriches individual understanding and makes the journey more enjoyable. Together, these tools transform the world into a laboratory where children become scientists, conducting experiments and gathering data. The Night the Park Came Alive celebrates community gathering and shared joy. The saxophone's hum cutting through trees serves as an invitation no formal announcement could match. Music summons people from their separate dwellings into collective experience. The borrowed spotlight illuminates not professional performers, but neighbors eager to participate, suggesting that worthwhile entertainment need not be expensive or polished. Enthusiasm and goodwill outweigh technical perfection. The squirrels peering from oak leaf thrones and the hedgehog wiggling in bushes shade integrate wildlife into the celebration. Animals become audience members, witnesses to human revelry. This inclusion blurs boundaries between human and natural domains, suggesting that joy is not exclusively ours, but rather something all creatures experience in their own ways. The tabby cat hopping into the parade demonstrates spontaneity and inclusion. Everyone is welcome, credentialed or not, invited or self-appointed. The multi-generational participation, grandpas twirling grandkids, old Mrs. Lee swinging with her grandson, emphasizes community cohesion across age groups. In this gathering, elderly and young interact naturally, learning from each other, finding common ground in shared pleasure. The dog in a bow, bounding with tail blurred, evokes pure, uncomplicated happiness. Animals lack self-consciousness. They don't worry about looking foolish or performing adequately. They simply exist fully in each moment, modeling an approach humans might benefit from emulating. When strangers become friends through sharing silly dance drills, the transformation speaks to community-building simplicity. We need not share extensive history or similar backgrounds to connect. Common